Hi, welcome to Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and as always, thanks for watching. Well, the debate rages on in the state about various aspects of Marcellus Shale natural gas production. We have folks from the coalition, the Shale Coalition, that represents the industry on our show. But first, some hints on how competition and wise choices on your part will save you, guess what? Money on your electric bill. Pennsylvania politics and government in depth and in detail, and it starts right now.
This is Pennsylvania Newsmakers, a fast-paced, unrehearsed weekly discussion with and about the leaders who shape your world. And now, here's your host, Terry Madonna.
Hi, welcome back to the program. Well, it's energy, energy, and energy, and how important that is to you. We're going to get to Marcellus Shale, but first we have Ritchie Hudson. He's the Pennsylvania State Chair of the Retail Energy Supply Association. That's a long title, Ritchie, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
But are you the kind of consumer advocate for the energy, for folks who, you know, need to buy electric, shop around and get electric rates at the lowest price? What do you view your job as?
Well, I represent a group of 21 competitive retail electricity suppliers, and we're the new players in the energy business here in Pennsylvania, delivering innovative, clean and green energy options to consumers.
You know, for decades, you know, let's be candid, there were, for the most part, energy suppliers were monopolies, right? And that has all changed, and now you can go out, and we'll get to that in a moment, buy, your electricity on the market. How did we get there? Before we talk about what consumers should do, how do we get out of the monopoly business, in a sense, and into the competition? How did that take place in Pennsylvania?
Well, fortunately here in Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania was a trailblazer back in 1996 with the passage of the Electric Choice and Competition Act, which finally empowered customers with a choice in their competitive electric generation provider. Now, it's important to keep in mind that your local utility, whether it's PPL or PECO or Duquesne Light, they'll still deliver electricity to your home, but now you have a choice in who provides the actual electric generation service.
So let's stop right here and make sure, it was very clear, but let's just repeat that. So we still have the people who were producing, generating, and am I using the right term?
Yes.
Generating the electricity. But now the question who actually supplies it to us is different in some cases, but do not some generators also supply?
Yes, in fact, some of our member companies are also wholesale generators as well as retail electricity suppliers directly to the end-use consumer. But the important thing is that customers now are empowered with a choice in their electric generation supplier. So if you want a fixed price electricity option, you can get that. If you're more interested in clean or green renewable energy options, you have that choice as well.
And that took place because of changes in state law. Just
Yes.
Briefly tell us about how this took place.
Well, historically, the local utility provided everything, the generation service, the transmission service, and the distribution service. So in 1996, with the passage of the Choice and Competition Act, the industry was restructured, so customers now have a choice in their generation service provider. And the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission, which deserves a tremendous amount of credit for putting in place fair market rules and great policies to bring us to this point in time today where customers finally have choices.
Yeah, and we have had folks from the PUC on this program, explaining this transition. We're getting an update. We're going to run to a break where I want to then get into the, what consumers should do and how they should sort of evaluate the various options. The transition is going well from this so-called monopoly to a more competitive state. You're reasonably happy with that?
Yes, it's going very well so far. We actually hit a very important milestone just a couple of weeks ago. Now more than 1 million customers in Pennsylvania, that's 1 in 5 customers, are receiving electricity in the competitive market.
And I'm one of them, by the way, and we'll talk about... You're here to help me solve my problem, by the way. No, I'm only kidding. All right, when we come back, your choice, you got it. You can make one. Alternative selections, what should you do? Ritchie's going to weigh in. We're going to get some expert advice on how to do it after these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry, the statewide voice of business, and by the Pennsylvania Cyber Charter School, bringing educational innovation and freedom to the children of Pennsylvania. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by ReconnectPA.org, supporting a comprehensive transportation funding solution, and by the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. Business in Pennsylvania is our business.
Hi, welcome back to the program. We're talking with Ritchie Hudson. He represents the Retail Energy Supply Association. All these choices that you now have that you didn't have before in terms of your electric bill, your electricity. All right, let's give us some pointers on how, what should customers do given this new environment for competitive choice. Go ahead.
Well, the important thing is customers are now in the driver's seat, and the best thing customers can do is get informed about what choices they have. And the Public Utility Commission has developed a great tool. It's a website. It's called PA Power Switch. That's papowerswitch.com, where customers can go online and learn all about shopping. You can look at the available offers and all of the electricity companies that are providing competitive electric generation service.
Mm-hmm. So that's one shop. You get on the site, and it has the names of the companies and the plans that they offer. Is that
exactly.
it? And it's in English?
It's in English.
You've been there many times,
I've been
right?
there. I visited often. You have the rate. It also shows you the utilities price to compare, so you can find out how much you're going to save given a given usage amount. And today, customers are saving anywhere from 10 up to 20% in some areas, which really translates into real savings, up to $150 to $200 a year in some cases,
wow,
depending on usage.
Now, take us around the state. I know in the south central part of the state, where you'll correct me if I'm wrong, where PPL was one of the huge suppliers, if not the big supplier, we were able to make that choice, about 2 years ago, if I recall.
Yes.
I made that choice. So it's all about what my electric bill charges, rates are, you understand that. And PECO now mostly down in the southeast, but give us a little hint about the region. Talk about that.
Well, it's happened in phases. It started with Duquesne Light back in 2003, 2004 timeframe.
That's out in the western part of the state?
That's in the western part of the state, the Pittsburgh area. Then at the end of 2009, rate caps were lifted in PPL. And then just this year, 2011, the rest of the state, including utilities like PECO, MedEd, Penelec, Allegheny Power.
So if you're a consumer out there and you're making these decisions, you have to be very careful, not just about the rate or the savings that and I want to come back and want to have you repeat that in a minute, but you also have to be careful about the terms.
Exactly.
Now, give us what are the various options that are generally out there? 1 year, 2 year? Go ahead, talk about that.
There's a variety of options. One important distinction is find out whether it's a fixed price rate or a variable price rate. A fixed price rate will give you a fixed price per kilowatt hour for the entire term. 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. There's a variety of terms. A variable price rate might change as frequently as monthly.
Wow.
But it might provide opportunities for short-term savings, especially in today's energy market where short-term prices are relatively low.
Right.
So that's an important distinction to keep in mind.
It reminds me of interest rates on a house.
It is similar.
Although I guess they could be structured in, in a short-term time frame as well.
Yep.
But go ahead, finish your thought. Another
important thing to look out for is, are there early cancellation fees? Some suppliers charge early termination fees if you cancel your contract early, like in the cell phone industry, and other companies don't. So that's something else customers should watch out for.
All right, let's go back. You went into the savings. I mean, obviously people want to do this. I think there are probably several reasons, correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of folks want to conserve energy, period. That's important to them. At the same time, while they're conserving, they want to be sure that they're paying less, in their monthly utility bill. So what are the savings that can be mostly, go through those numbers again?
Sure. Well, offers that are available today range from 10 to up to 20% compared to the utilities price in some cases. Mm-hmm. And that translates into real savings. But it's not just about price. It's about giving customers choice and control in the type of electricity they use. So you have clean and green energy options, such as energy from wind or solar. You also have energy efficiency and demand response programs.
So your point is that if you're let's say you're a green this is something that's important to you, you could pick an energy, a retail sale condition, in other words, that fits your need, right? You can go and go ahead.
Yeah, you can find 100% wind energy available in the market, and in some cases, these renewable products today actually cost less than traditional energy from the local utility.
Right. Hey, look, this is a great update. This is part of our consumer activities on the show. Every now and then we bring you folks. We do financial literacy update. We'll keep you updated on particularly this important electric rate competition situation in our state. All right, coming up, Dave Callahan, who's with the Marcellus Shale Coalition. A huge debate rages on about taxing natural gas production, environmental controls, local impact. We're going to get into all of that following these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by Pennsylvania Credit Union Association. Pennsylvania Credit Unions, where people are worth more than money. To find a credit union that is right for you, check out ibelong.org. And by the Energy Association of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's energy information source. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the State System of Higher Education. 14 state-owned universities. The state system is the largest provider of higher education in Pennsylvania. And by the Hospital and Health System Association of Pennsylvania, working towards a healthy Pennsylvania.
All right, welcome back. Dave Callahan, he's Vice President of the Marcellus Shale Coalition, joins me. You're a coalition, you represent the industry. Go ahead, say a word or two about it.
Certainly, Dr. Madonna. We represent the Marcellus Shale Coalition. We're a multi-state organization of a number of industries dedicated to the responsible development of the Marcellus.
Okay. We use first names. I know this doctor, and
right.
you may be vice president. You're David to me right now.
Right.
I think our audience likes a term of informality. Okay, look, there are many aspects of this. Let's talk about, from your point of view, the job production, the importance of natural gas to the economy. Go take it.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, the importance of natural gas to the economy. We're talking about a very, very efficient, affordable, abundant resource here that can be used in any number of applications, whether it's fueling our homes for heating and cooling, electricity generation, and other research has shown that it can be used for fueling our vehicles, whether it's motor vehicles in terms of passenger cars, heavy-duty vehicles, and other heat and power applications. And it's a very clean fuel. It's a tremendous opportunity to develop our energy security in the country, and it's right under our feet here in Pennsylvania.
I read somewhere, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, that there is enough natural gas in the Marcellus Shale Formation in our state, up along the tier, down into the southwestern part of the state, to supply the entire American need for 50 years. Am I wrong about that? Or?
Well, here's how I look at it. Rather than years, days, months, maybe look at it this way. It has the potential to be the second largest natural gas field in the entire world. Okay. I think that puts it in tremendous perspective, and it gives Pennsylvania an opportunity, and this region an opportunity, to be a major global energy player. And again, increase our energy security here and provide affordable, abundant, clean fuel.
Okay, let's talk now, let's move away from that to job creation. As you know, Pennsylvania, first of all, we're a big energy producing state. Energy's always been part of the job creation, whether you go back to coal and steel. I don't directly relate that to energy, but you needed coal in many cases to produce steel. What's the job potential here?
Well, we've seen tens of thousands of jobs being projected, and we just saw just within the last few weeks the Department of Labor and Industry here in Pennsylvania came out with some statistics that showed that there's about 141,000 jobs here in the Commonwealth right now. We've done some economic modeling that shows that cumulative speaking, we could be looking at by 2020 over 212,000 jobs. And we're talking about good paying jobs as well. The data that the Department of Labor and Industry shared showed that the average wage of these jobs in the core industries in the industry is about $69,000. Right. So we're talking about decent, good-paying jobs, abundant jobs, and I can say this because I'm from McKean County originally, jobs in areas of the state that desperately need economic development.
Okay, so I don't think without doubt we have a resource. It's an important resource. very important to the economy of the state for lots of different reasons. Now let's go to some of the aspects of it. I mean, I think most folks would be okay with, accept that. I don't think that's a problem. Let's go to some of the more controversial aspects. Here's an element to think about. The companies are making billions of dollars. There's no fee, no tax. We can get into that. The residents of the state in the polls support a Marcellus Shale tax. The governor does not. Big debate going to go on in the legislature about a tax. So we have three possibilities. You could be taxed, go into the general fund. We could have an impact fee, which goes to local municipalities, and we could put some money into the environmental fund. Let's talk about the impact fee first, because I think that's percolating in the legislature and likely to go somewhere. What's your organization's position on an impact fee? And that's money that would go to the local communities. How they divide it, we don't need to get into, for help.
It's a debate for others, for people other than us to decide,
right.
that's for certain. Well, we firmly recognize that, again, there's tremendous opportunities here available with the responsible development of the Marcellus for Pennsylvania and its municipalities and its residents. At the same time, we understand that there are impacts. We're open to discussing various impact fee proposals, and we're interested in what comes out of the governor's Marcellus Shale Advisory Commission.
Correct.
We're interested in seeing what Senator Scarnati may produce and what may come out of any of those discussions.
You're not saying here on this program, and I don't think you have that you're dead opposed. In fact, some of your organization members, not all, not maybe everybody, you have been open to this all along.
Well, we're open to looking at these ideas, but unfortunately, until we see something in writing, we can't really comment. But we have to be mindful, though, that whatever is done, whether at the state or local level, will have an impact.
Right.
And we want to make sure it doesn't, hinder the competitiveness of the industry here in Pennsylvania vis-a-vis other states, vis-a-vis other countries as well, so we can continue to realize this tremendous potential.
All right, I'm chatting with Dave Callahan. He's the Vice President of Marcellus Shale Coalition. We'll be back following these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by Highmark Blue Shield, changing the way health plans work for business with a variety of plan options for employers and more choices for employees. Information is available at highmark.com. Have a greater hand in your company's health. And by the Pennsylvania Healthcare Association, the future of long-term care.
Hi, welcome back. We're talking with Dave Callahan from the Marcellus Shale Coalition. All right, but you do recognize that obviously that there is an impact, on the infrastructure in local communities. I mean, you're bringing jobs, but there's also the need, for additional police, maybe fire service, the roads, and the bridge, bringing big rigs. I mean, it's not the question of whether you want the jobs. I think everybody agrees there. But you do agree there is an impact that exists on the local community. I mean, I think that's without question.
I think we recognize that there can be impacts, but at the same time, we recognize that we're mitigating some of those impacts. We conservatively estimate that our companies spent somewhere above $200 million last year on road improvements and upgrades alone. In some areas of the state, that's more than PennDOT is spending. In other areas, we've done some economic modeling and research that shows that, in the year 2010, we're estimating that revenues for the state and local governments increased by about $800 million.
Yeah, let's talk about the sort of the twin consideration, and that is the environmental impact. Let's assume, for the sake of this discussion, that the companies do all that they're supposed to do under the law. We're not, nobody's hiding. We're not even going to suggest that, the practices and all that. Given the nature of all of these industries, there will be accidents. There will be spills. The water is contaminated. It will get into streams. I think everybody knows that. And I'm not asking you to defend, what the companies do. I'm asking you to talk about what you think your industry's obligation is to the environment, to the environmental fund. Should money, if there is a tax, an impact fee, do you think some of that money should go to the environmental to an environmental fund? We have several in the state, some places that could go. What's your thoughts about that?
Let me just start by saying, in terms of the area of risk and perhaps potential problems, we have among the most stringent environmental regulations in terms of the drilling industry in the whole country. And we're confident that those regulations, those environmental laws and regulations are in place, and we've got the commitment and the will of a number of the members of our organization to do the right thing. They realize that they have a shot to get this done and get it done right, and they're committed to getting it done right. But I would say, understanding the politics of everything involved, where the money goes, if something is done, that's for minds other than the coalition itself.
But obviously, if the impact fee, and there will, it seems to me, just as an impartial observer, it looks like there will be one at some point. Even the governor has laid out the possibility that if the Marcellus Shale Commission that he put together recommends one, he's open to one. So it's, we're inching towards it anyway. But you wouldn't object if some of that money went into the environmental fund from your point of view. How it gets distributed.
Yeah, how it gets distributed is, again, something for other folks to consider. But again, we're open to discussion on that. But understanding that, we're talking about the House, the Senate, and the governor, their decisions come first. We've been around long enough, I'll say it, Terry. We've been around long enough to understand that a lot of those decisions are clearly out of our hands.
And there's likely to be a lot of give and take before the legislation is finally adopted.
Absolutely.
Are you, is there any hints about what's the Marcellus Shale Commission that the governor put together? Sort of, what's the broad, what are they looking at?
They're looking at a whole host of issues. They've had 2 meetings now as a full commission, several more to go. The full report will come out from this commission on July 22nd. Right. They have a number of very, very active working groups looking at everything from infrastructure, public health and safety, economic and workforce development, and those working groups are really digging into the details, looking at various issues associated with the development of the Marcellus and airing a lot of issues, and then coming up with, at some point here, we think, some recommendations for moving forward. I think it's a very comprehensive analysis of what's going on here in Pennsylvania, as well as an analysis of the potential here as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, overall, then, we have about 45 seconds. You're optimistic that, A, the production can be done environmentally safe, and if you have to pay a little more, your organization is, the groups you represent are, going to say, probably in the best interest of the state.
Well, again, we want to take a look at what's proposed, and we want to weigh that against, the competitive nature of this shale play in Pennsylvania against other shale plays in the country and the world. We want to maintain that competitive edge.
Thanks for coming in, and, as things, maybe after the commission gives its report, we'll get you back. We've presented all sorts of view on this. We'll have folks on from the environmental community and some lawmakers, both for and against. See you next week for another edition of Pennsylvania Newsmakers. Stay well.